Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. It's been a while since I've made a video, and I think it was about time that I did so. I want to go over quite a few things today. One of them, I want to give an update on my life. Currently, I'm doing pretty well. Things are actually quite well in my life. I have, you know, um, everything seems to be going okay. I went through a massive, intense depression from November to about maybe 3, 4 weeks ago. So it can come back at any time, might just rear its ugly head immediately. But I went through it for some logical reasons, some personal self reflection stuff that I've realized. And I wanted to break some of those things down and discuss them. So in November, of course, after everything that's been happening in this world, something happened to me that was pretty intense, and it was actually someone that I knew. So I'll run over this story pretty fast, but I hope you guys bear with me and stick with this video. So over the springtime of 2023, I ran into someone that I knew, and this individual, I hadn't seen them since I was 15, so 25 years ago. And I dated them when we were 15, and he's a gay man. And this is before I transitioned and everything. So I ran into him, and he's very elaborate, very intense looking, very tall, very, very, very slender, very dramatic in what he does, very negative, toxic, I would even say. And this person, when I started speaking to him and we were at a bar or something, I actually mentioned to him that I think I know him. I was like, I think I know you. I think we dated when we were 15. He's like, I wouldn't date someone like you. He didn't know I was trans at the time. And then when I started breaking it down to him, I started telling him, and he's just looking at me. And I was like, well, I had a South African accent because that's where I'm from. And so as soon as I said I had a South African accent, you could see like the blood rush out of his face. And he's having a hard time with And the reason why is because when we were 15, like Valentine's Day came up, and I remember I gave him a teddy bear, and I think I sprayed it with some cologne or something at the time, and I broke up with him a couple days later. But I strategically did it because I didn't want to be with him, but it was Valentine's, and I couldn't break up with him on Valentine's. So I did it anyway. And so every time I'd see him on every weekend, he was very dramatic at the bars and stuff over last summer when I was going out often. He was always at the bars, he was always at the clubs, and he would create fights with people and throw things at people. He has lots of money. His parents supposedly gave him a house, and he's got lots of cash. But he's very, like, mean and dramatic. So anyway, he befriended me on social media, and he was constantly sending memes and chatting and joking and all this stuff. And then he ended up sending memes after the current situation. And of course, I'm wearing my keffiyeh today, so we're going to get into the conversation about what's happening in Palestine and the genocide. We'll get into that in a minute. And this all ties in together. So this individual had it out for me to chat on social media, kept sending me memes and jokes and whatnot. And one of them started going into LGBTQ people who support Palestine, and they were like cows going into a slaughterhouse because they're like, oh, they'll chop your head off and throw you off a building. That was a big thing, which is called pink washing, and you can look that up. It's a specific strategy by the government in Israel to specifically because they know that LGBTQ people are very outspoken about human rights, and they're very educated, so they have to create an entire propaganda system into gaining LGBTQ people to support Israel's cause as an occupying illegal colony, settler colony. So anyway, and so they create the fear within the LGBTQ people, and most LGBTQ people aren't that dumb. We've gone through a lot in our lives. We've struggled. We've fought, especially like a little bit older ones. Not saying they're any better than the younger ones. The younger ones are far more intelligent than the older generation, especially when it comes to politics. And so this individual kept sending me memes about Palestine and making jokes about it. And I just read, I was like, look, I'm very passionate about this. I've been passionate about it for years. When I found out about what Israel was, how it controls the land, sea, and air, medical supplies, everything that goes into Gaza. And the more I researched, the more I looked at it, and the more I saw, especially when I'm a white South African that benefited from a lot of my privilege growing up and my life from being a very wealthy growing, as a kid. And of course, it changes. Everything in the world changes. I still am well off compared to most people, and that is a white privilege. But there's nothing like a white South African privilege. Where you grow up in a huge house, you're living a great lifestyle. There's not much to worry about. You have everything you need. And that's been continuous into my life. And and it's because of black people being slaughtered by white South Africans who are occupying their land and controlling everything they have, food, water, whatever it is. And it's apartheid. So the more I looked at it, the more I started looking into Palestine. I was like, that's straight up apartheid. That's exactly what that is. When you don't allow people to walk on certain roads that you can walk on because you are Israeli, and these people have to walk in with checkpoints and all sorts of shit, no. Sorry, that's, yeah, when you choke them out, land, sea, and air, you destroy their airport. It's a nightmare. So, the more you look at it, and that's before all of this happened, people were getting killed and murdered by Israel. And any retaliation is conflated and blown up into this thing by terrorists and whatever. So, this person kept sending these memes. So eventually I said something, and he just kept making fun. Oh, I don't do politics. I was like, you already have. I was like, you're already involved. So I just, and he kept on, kept on. So I sent him a link to a video of a trans man and a couple of trans women, maybe a few trans men, a couple of trans women that actually went and helped the people of Gaza during this conflict. And it shows that there is no, just like the United States, just like Israel, just like the rest of the world, just like Christian nations, any religion, doesn't matter. There are hate crimes, and there's things that happen against LGBTQ people. It does not mean you give them a dose of genocide. That's not how it works. Like Florida having anti-LGBTQ bills, should we just genocide the whole state? Just go ahead and wipe them all out? What about Texas? Is that what you believe? That when a group of people vote to take away LGBTQ rights, do you think they should all be wiped out, including the people that just live there? So it doesn't matter how many hate crimes that could have happened in Gaza, or the ones that happened in Israel against trans people or LGBTQ people, or in the United States, there is no valid reason in the world for genocide, which is what this is. There is actually no... How is it not genocide? That's my argument to people. How is it not genocide? And what it boils down to is that most people in the world that come from the United States and stuff, a large percentage, even subconsciously don't even know they are racist. And even the ones here, people love that movie with Sandra Bullock, The Blind Side, and it's just rich white women thinking they're good people by helping out low-income people, like they're special. It's more about them. That's a form of racism, straight up. That's an internalized racism where we think that we should just help people out because we're privileged, but not actually giving them the equal rights that we have. You want to be the one getting the benefit of helping them out, the praise. It doesn't work that way. You have to do it unconditionally. And you do it subconsciously. It's not even a question. You just do it without even talking about it. It just happens. But all of us are racist in some way against black people. It's built into our culture. And so when it happens, you got to catch yourself and go, I should work on that. That's called self-reflection and growth into adulthood. So this individual that I'm talking about, he kept sending me this stuff, so I just blocked him. I blocked him on social media. So he started texting and direct texting at 4 a.m, drunk, going off on me because I unfriended him and talking about Palestine and all this stuff and how they'll kill me and all this jazz. And so I just told him, I was like, look, honestly, I really do wish you the best. I just can't be subjected to this bullshit in my life. So I blocked him on the cell. Well, a week later, I started realizing that there was a huge drama happening at my place of work. And this person was trying to get me fired, calling me anti-Semitic and a Nazi and all this stuff. And the people that I work with, and it's not an insult to them, there's nothing wrong with it, they don't know about what's happening in the world. They don't know the details. They like to think they know, but they really don't. They're very simple. They like the Kardashians. They like to be sexy. They like to be beautiful. And the dramas they have are all very friend-orientated and very simple. There's no depth. And it's always people that think they're empathetic that are actually not at all. They have empathy towards little white children, or little white children suffering, but they don't have empathy towards like little Islam children getting blown up, or, dads carrying their sons in plastic bags. They don't really care about that because, Hamas. Which, anyway, so that ended up fleshing itself out because this person embarrassed themselves by writing a Yelp review that showed their age, because no one writes Yelp reviews that are under 40. So he wrote this review, and it was just ridiculous, about my hair skills and how I burned their scalp and all sorts of stuff, which never happened. So it was obvious that they were just pissed that I didn't want to be friends with them, which is crazy. So it caused me a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. I started really going through it. And that, I don't know why, it affected me so greatly because I feel like there's a child in all of us. And for me, when I look at what's happening in the situation in Gaza, it is in Palestine. It is insane that the people who are against this genocide and this slaughter are extremists or terrorist enabling or whatever it is that they want to be labeled as. So for me, subconsciously, that someone would go out of the way and try and get a gay man would try and get a trans woman fired from her place of employment because she wants to stop a genocide. It's mind-boggling for me to comprehend that we live in a world that's that fucked up. And so that was a lot. That was a lot for me to go through from November. There was other things that came up in my life, other dramas, other stuff. I was going through a lot with my transition in a butch phase that I was going through, which I'm coming out of, thank God. But it was a lot. There was a lot of things going on in my life where that was intense. And I was really, really going through it for like 4 months. And I feel like it was a great lesson. I should be very grateful to that individual and everyone in my life that causes me suffering because it teaches me so much about myself. I've learned leaps and bounds over the situation. And it really does show that the people who give you the most harm or do the most horrible things to you are the ones that really you should praise the most. You should thank the deepest because they teach you so much. I mean, I might have a heart attack or a stroke one day because of it, but it's like I might die from the stress because I'm such a loyal person to people, my friends and my coworkers. I'm very loyal. They just don't really, they may not think it, but I feel like I take things very, very personally. And I like to get to a logical point on things. And when there is no logic, and I realize that it's just because most people are assholes. And when you're not, and you actually have authentic empathy with everyone, not because there's a little label or something, but actual empathy with every single living being, when you have that and you try to see it. Because look, I really dislike Israel a lot. I think what they're doing is really fucked up. I think that the fact that there's only 20% of them that are actually Semitic or Hebrew genetic compared to the 85% Palestinians they're 85% Hebrew genetics, which means they are the Semites from 3,000 years ago. And these people from the United States, these people who believe in Judaism, which is a religion, claim that they have rights to those lands is insane. And then they slaughter them and they blow them up and they make these little influencer TikTok videos where they're dancing with their, in Gaza. It's the most disgusting shit ever. I mean, Nazis. Essentially, everything that Israel is doing is what Nazi Germany did to the Jews. And what's crazy is, to the Semites at that time, but what's really crazy is that Zionism was originated by a white supremacist that was from Germany. So it's a really bizarre, like, ass-about-face way, but it does make sense when you really break it all down that this is what's happening. I mean, I think I've gone over self-hatred a lot in the past, but I think a lot of these people, all of these freaking Zionists from, like, New York, and they hire military from all over the world, like Americans that want to go in there and fight, and then they can get citizenship. I mean, I could convert to Judaism and move to Israel, and I could steal someone's house in the West Bank, and the government of Israel would support me doing that, even though Palestinians have been living there for like 5,000 years. It is deranged. And you have a lot of white Americans who are Islamophobic because of the rhetoric that we've had in the United States for so long. and what they've been doing to these people for so long. And they're like, oh, I remember back in the day, the towel heads are blowing up the country, and we got to go over there and nuke them all, like with George Bush. And they killed 200,000 of them at the time, displaced the whole situation, destroyed their government, took their oil, took everything, all for weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. And it never fails. Every time we have a war in this world, the United States, at the end of it, we come to find out they lied. At the end of it, it's a complete lie. I mean, look at the New York Times right now. They're having a massive, massive scandal because they hired an Israeli intelligence agent from the IDF, intelligence agent, to write an article based on October 7th rape cases and listing all these people that have all come out and said it never happened, saying that that Hamas used rape as a weapon of war. And not one person has claimed to being raped. None of these people claim to being raped. It literally never happened. And now that it's been exposed thanks to the Gray Zone and different journalists out there that have actually exposed it, you're going to find out that this journalist that wrote this article for the New York Times never had any journalism experience. Not one. Not a single article. They were literally hired from Israel to come in and create this fear-mongering about October 7th. They propagated the whole beheading of babies that never happened. The pregnant women getting babies cut out of them never happened. The rape charges never happened. And Israel won't allow an investigation, an external investigation of any kind into October 7th because, and we will all come to find out as time goes on, the whole thing was propaganda. The whole thing was fake. It was all bullshit. And I'm saying that now, and I'm standing by that because I've said it since October 8th. If you've studied anything that Israel's done for the past 75 years against the Palestinian people, you know that they're fucking lying. They've always lied. They lie about everything. And there's one thing that rich white people are terrible at, and it's lying. And when you get comfortable... See, okay, I said this to my mother yesterday, and I was very proud of this one. I was like, here goes my little ego. Poor people, when they lie out of desperation, and it's more convincing. And you know what? It can be justified. When you're starving and you have no health care and you lie or you steal or something, it makes sense because there's a valid reason out of desperation to steal and lie and, try and do that. When rich people lie, or rich white people lie, I'll say, they're lying because they want power. They want land. They're pro-capitalist. They're racist. And they're not good at it because they're not desperate. They're rich. They're comfortable. They're living in huge houses where they have maids. They have everything done for them. Their brain doesn't fire up the same way. It's not the same as a poor person who's literally desperate for their life, aka Palestinians. And so they're obviously not lying. They have no reason to lie. Why would they lie? Why would they create propaganda in the situation? They have nothing. They're carrying dead babies. 2 weeks ago, we saw a little girl during the Super Bowl, and they showed pictures of her before, hanging from a building in Rafah with her legs shredded from her knees down. While we're all sitting there watching Beyonce at the Super Bowl, like, oh my God. Like, what the fuck? And those bombs are certified United States bombs with your tax money. It's something like $110 per American has given to this war in Gaza. That's how much you've paid to destroy little children in hospitals, all for evidence that they've never been able to find. No Hamas tunnels under any hospital, and the ones that they do show are obviously not fucking real. The calendar, remember there's a list that Hamas had? It was literally just a calendar in a hospital with dates and what was happening in the war. There's no evidence of any kind that any of this shit happened. And white, racist Americans who love money will not hold their government accountable. They will not hold Biden accountable. They will not hold Trump accountable. And right now, everybody's all obsessed with Trump at the border. They're all like, what are we going to do about the immigrants? They're more native than we are. Let them in. I mean, come on. If you're going to argue that Israelis are native, which they're not, to the Middle East, they're white people, to the Middle East, how can you not argue that Hispanic people are native to the United States? Because they are. They're native to America. We stole their fucking land. It's called colonialism. We've been doing it this whole fucking time. So I am quite proud that on October 8th, I was holding everybody fucking accountable. I was like, guys, this is not what's fucking happening. Israel lies about everything. So that's why I've been depressed. That's why I've been quiet. I haven't been on my community post, but that's why I haven't made a video about it, is because I know when I post this video, I'm going to get hell from all of the older trans people. Oh, you know, they're going to chop your head off in Hamas. You should go over there. You're just a fucking terrorist. Well, you know what? Free Palestine and end the fucking occupation. Have a good day.